Epic layoffs are a bad sign, analyst says. If Fortnite can't make it, what chance do other games have?
So this is going to be a little bit of a different video than I usually do. We unfortunately got some really sad news from Epic Games, and it's got people asking, is this the beginning of the end for Fortnite?
The layoffs are still not stopping, and this time nobody is safe, and they never really were, because Epic Games has confirmed 1,000 layoffs.
With the sad recent announcement of people over at Fortnite getting laid off over 1,000, some of those even being people who were there for over 9 years, I think it's about time I just go ahead and say what I have always wanted to say for a while now. Fortnite did not die when they announced creative mode or all these crossovers bloating out the game, or when they messed up the battle passes by running out of ideas, or their mechs.
This game is so trash. This guy has 1 kill.
It started way earlier than that, and it was to do with a core game mechanic that in my opinion literally killed Fortnite. And that is what made Fortnite what it was to this day, and that was called building.
Is this nigga serious?
Specifically the feature of turbo building. I'm not crazy. Obviously I understand Fortnite is supposed to be a game about building and surviving and fighting. Let me explain. So to put into context, Fortnite used to show in the trailers how their Battle Royale game mode was supposed to play out. There was lots of build your own base and fortify and gather resources to outlast the eye of the storm. But then the Call of Duty players came along and tried to turn it into a proper deathmatch, going out of their way to drop as many kills as possible. In fact, Fortnite before whatever season this was, when this clip was going viral.
I'm joking! Stop!
Even introduced some creative ideas that still played into their original gameplay design for this Battle Royale game mode, which was Portafort, a small mini tower you could throw down and instantly build your own base, without needing to gather resources. I do appreciate this a lot. It was a cool item at first, but the only minor downside, it took you a slight bit away from needing to gather resources to build your own base creatively, which of course you still need to do to an extent. But anything that even slightly took you out of the world of immersion to gather, build, defend, fight, survive is quite literally a net negative. And then they went a step further with a Porta Fortress. I honestly prefer the Porta Fort to the Porta Fortress. Porta Fortress was just a bit too much in my opinion. Anyway, my point still stands. For turbo building, if they were fast on the keyboard, which turned the game into a more competitive format instead of a survival battle royale, it just turned it into a glorified riot. Like seriously, you could go back and see from season 2 chapter 1 all the way to where gamers were playing battle royale to whenever competitive Fortnite took off, and turned it into whoever is lucky. Mind you, Fortnite was already RNG with the weapon loot that came out of the chests at that time. Surprises me is that TSM Myth, oh sorry, he doesn't go by that anymore, Myth showcased a video and gave his thoughts 5 years ago on removing turbo building, and while the video still shows them editing faster than Sonic the Hedgehog on their builds, he still exclaims in real time how different it feels just clicking. The difference is so drastic. People also like to claim that Fortnite lost its soul when they removed LTM, and that is also a small part to play. But in my opinion, what really stands out is the art style change for me. Fortnite's soul nowadays can only be described and compared to something like Roblox. I'm sure some of you have heard the term Robloxification of Fortnite, and well, that's exactly what happened. I ain't even gonna sugarcoat it. It's a web page of fan-made game modes to play whenever. Before it was simple, you boot up the main menu, your game looked like this and sounded and looked like this. More immersive if you ask me. The goofy art style stood out to anything at the time and still held up years later before butchering it. Save the World was the original game mode for a reason, because it was built on a great foundation of steady rock rather than sand. I don't even need to go into why Lego Fortnite died. I still hold a place for Fortnite Save the World in my heart. It got buried under all this mess and was really enjoyable back when they were thinking of releasing it for free. Remember that? Also, this is the same company that removed trading in both Fortnite and Rocket League. There was a real dev team and care put into it, but obviously and rightly so, they should have focused on what was making them the most money at the time, but not ruin it altogether and lose what made it great in the first place, and bloat out the game to something that's just so forgettable and without substance. Like a McDonald's menu before they started adding cocaine-like addicting substances like cornstarch and all the other oils that was just completely unnecessary to make it as addictive as possible and feel empty when you eat it. It tastes like potato fries with salt and a little oil. But now people get sick, metabolism messed up and can't distinguish what it is, and even the CEO can't even eat their product. Anyway, that's going off topic. The point is, when they announced over 1,000 layoffs, it got me thinking. They might have to either lay off more employees or disband their collaborations to save money and resources and time. You could say the second option is better, as there is a job market crisis and it would be better to hire people rather than fire people. You could say they are saving the world. Anyway, the excuses they made I think were baffling to me. Current consoles selling less than last generations and games competing for time against other increasingly engaging forms of entertainment. The part of this I do not agree with would obviously be the part about games competing against one another for time.
Some of the challenges we're facing are industry-wide challenges: slower growth, weaker spending, and tougher cost economics. Current consoles selling less than last generations, and games competing for time against other increasingly engaging forms of entertainment. You say slower growth and weaker spending, but that just does not... At the end of the day, you made $6 billion in 2025, so it's like the arrow not only has to go up, it has to go up way more.
My dude, other games have to compete against Fortnite, which is to be considered a juggernaut in the shooter game industry and multiplayer gaming industry as a whole. A behemoth, if you will. Why? Because younger generation gamers can't go out and play Fortnite on a PS5 back when consoles at least costed around $200 to $350 from the PS3 to PS4 generation. And Fortnite is still available on both PS4 and PS5 and Xbox One and Xbox Series consoles. On top of that, it's free, so just like Roblox, these younger gamers are spending more on their time on Rocket League, Fortnite, or Fall Guys. When parents win, kids win, when everybody wins. Either way, Fortnite is third in terms of all-time multiplayer game concurrent play base, just off the Steam charts alone.
Despite Fortnite remaining one of the most successful games in the world, we've had challenges delivering consistent Fortnite magic with every season.
So, in other words, if Fortnite is truly dying this time and not choosing a different path and disbanding what made them good in the first place by rebranding and resurvive its fallen path, then every other shooter in the space is on life support.
Epic layoffs are a bad sign, analyst says. If Fortnite can't make it, what chance do other games have? According to statistics database Statista, Epic Games generated $6 billion, and Fortnite continues to top the charts for player engagement on both PlayStation and Xbox.
The gamer answer in me just wants to say they bit off more than they can chew, they alienated their player base, their true core player base, and made comebacks to newer audiences while sacrificing what made them great in the first place, along the way still trying to cater to those old players, but ultimately failing, and instead of taking a step back, they took a step backwards. But the more level-headed answer is probably what they said in a paragraph towards the end. Quote, "Market conditions today are the most extreme we've seen since those early days." Anyway, I just wanted to yap and give my thoughts on why Fortnite is really dying and why all these people getting laid off is quite sad, especially since some of those guys have been there for apparently 9 years minimum.